Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to a brand new week and welcome to a brand new edition of what we call the Shifting the Culture podcast, where we talk about the different artists and different events that have impacted hip hop culture, as well as the ones that still continue to do so to this very day. I'm your host, the vegan you believe in, Conscious Kurt, in the flesh as always, and my co host needs no introduction, but fuck it. He's going to give y'all one anyway. Break it down for us.
Yo, what's going on, world? This is King Khan live and direct. What it is, man? What's going on?
Just chilling, man. Just been trying to clean up this week after last week's Thanksgiving, eating all that food and, indulging in a lot of shit. So this week I've been kind of cleaning up with, not smoking for the week, not drinking for the week, not eating any junk food for the week. So I'm starting to feel it now, but today I'm going to treat myself. So now I'm feeling pretty good. We're about to get into some news. So it's going to be a good day.
Damn, you're still cleaning up from Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was like over a week ago, bro. Like you still cleaning
Yeah,
up.
but like starting last Tuesday, starting on Tuesday, I started cutting back on shit because I knew I needed to after the Thanksgiving and also the few days afterwards because I had leftovers that lasted until like Sunday.
Damn, all right. I hear you. So yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Also, I hadn't taken a break from weed in a while, so I figured it was needed.
No, more power to you. Whatever helps for you, bro. I'm definitely not, but do your thing.
All right, but let's get into our main story for the day. As this past Friday, Renaissance, a film by Beyonce, was released in theaters, which basically documents the Renaissance tour that Beyonce's been on throughout this year. And it actually has a 100% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow, it's pretty sick.
Yeah, it's very sick. And the most impressive thing about this whole thing is that Beyonce wrote, produced, and directed this thing all herself. Fucking A, son. That is a boss if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, she's definitely a boss in her own right. But yeah, that's dope that Beyonce is doing this. Putting together this documentary, which is kind of recapping her tour. You know how she has a ton of fans and she put a lot of effort into this Renaissance tour. So looks like she wants to give people who couldn't get a chance to attend the show a chance to at least get some of the behind the scenes and get some of the energy of what happened during those tour stops.
Yeah, it's a good look. I'm looking forward to going to see it. I may go see it, if not today, tomorrow. And yeah, I would have liked to go, but literally from what I was hearing, like a ticket alone, just one ticket was like a month's rent. So that shit wasn't happening.
Yeah, I know that a lot of artists they're charging a lot of money for their tours, like the hundreds and thousands of dollars lately. So if you're a hardcore Beyonce fan, I don't blame you for spending that money because I feel like you definitely get your money's worth. But there's only like a select few artists that are worth that amount of money to go see.
Not Lauryn Hill anymore.
Definitely not Lauryn Hill, but at least
I wouldn't even
Beyonce,
go for
she's
free.
yeah, at least Beyonce, you're gonna get a top notch show. She's gonna put on a hella performance. She's gonna have a lot of shit going on, behind the scenes and in the background. So yeah, she's definitely gonna you definitely get your money's worth when you go to a Beyonce concert.
Yeah, she had a lot of guests throughout the tour. She had Kendrick, she had Megan Thee Stallion, she had the Destiny's Child girls, she had Diana Ross. Yeah, this tour was stacked, man. I'm looking forward to seeing the movie and seeing what it was all about. I saw like videos online and stuff, which is cool, but I'm really looking forward to seeing the movie and the whole project and just how all of it was put together. I'm sure it's going to be impressive.
Yeah, you can't hate on Beyonce, man. She's been putting in work for over 20 years, and she's at performing at a really high level. And everybody who I've heard who's gone to the concert has nothing but great things to say about it, and it's like a great experience. So, shouts out to Beyonce for for putting on for the culture and setting a great example for her daughter and also for other females that are trying to come up after her.
Yes, and speaking of her daughter, let's get into that real fast. As Blue Ivy was the target of a lot of criticism for her performances, like in the early part of the tour. And instead of letting it get to her, instead of letting it keep her down, she had the mentality and the attitude to just work harder to get better at her performances. So from what I heard in the movie, you could definitely tell the difference in her performance from the first shot of the tour to the last shot of the tour. So all I gotta say is round of applause for Blue Ivy for being an 11-year-old girl and being able to have that kind of attitude and being able to take that criticism like a champ. That deserves a standing ovation. And honestly, before we get into more of that, I just want to say a big giant fuck you to anybody who was criticizing her over her performance. Like, how the fuck are you gonna criticize an 11-year-old girl? Are you serious? Are you out of your fucking mind? Like, these people on social media sometimes have no shame. It's really sad. But more power
Yeah,
to Blue Ivy for handling it like a G. More power to her.
yeah, I can understand you criticizing maybe Beyonce and her show, but to criticize like a kid, like I don't understand that. I don't know where people like what people are thinking these days, man. Like, why would you go after a kid and criticize them? They're just a kid; they're not full grown. Like, you should give her props for at least even trying. I know she's Beyonce and Jay Z's daughter, but for her to still go up there in front of all those fans and to try her best and to kind of take some of the criticism that she got and to kind of take that and fuel her to come back and even better. That's definitely sets a good example, for other kids. So shouts out to Blue Ivy for for putting in the work, for improving, and shouts out to her parents for encouraging her and showing what it takes to be great.
Yeah, definitely. Like in the movie, you'll definitely see more of that where she talks about all that criticism and how it motivated her to work harder in practice and rehearsals and get everything down. And that's not just inspirational for kids, that's also inspirational for adults. Like if Blue Ivy can handle that criticism and push through it, anybody can. There's no excuse in that regard.
Yeah, exactly. It goes to show you, like, it's all in your mind. If you put your mind to it, you can make anything happen. And shouts out to Blue Ivy for taking the criticism on the chin and going back in and getting in her bag and working on her craft. So that's definitely a good look for her.
Yeah, definitely. Round of applause. I'm looking forward to seeing, that part of the movie. And also last week at the premiere, Beyonce was like wearing all silver and she had her hair all different. And a lot of people were coming at her for like the way her skin looked. And people were accusing her of like bleaching her skin and making herself look white and all that. And her mother, Tina Knowles, was not happy about this. And she opened up about her frustrations in an Instagram post. And I'm going to read it here for you guys right now. Came across this today and decided to post it after seeing all of this stupid, ignorant, self-hating, racist statements about her, lightening her skin and wearing platinum hair, wanting to be white. She does a film called The Renaissance, where the whole theme is silver with silver hair, a silver carpet, and suggested silver attire, and you bozos decide that she's trying to be a white woman and is bleaching her skin? How sad is that some of her own people continue this stupid narrative with hate and jealousy? Duh, she wore silver hair to match her silver dress as a fashion statement, clown. What's really sad is that a white woman had the audacity to reach out to Neil, Beyonce's hairstylist. She was from TMZ to say that the fans are saying that she wants to be white and she wanted to get a statement about it from Neil. Well, that made my blood boil. That this white woman felt so entitled to discuss her blackness. What's really most disappointing is that the some black people, yes, you bozos that's on social media, lying and faking and acting like you're so ignorant that you don't understand that black women have worn platinum hair since the Etta James days. I just went and looked at all the beautiful, talented black celebrities who have worn platinum hair, and it has been just about every one of them at one time or another. Are they all trying to be white? I'm sick and tired of people attacking her. Every time she does something that she works her ass off for and is a statement of her work ethic, talent, resilience. Here you sad little haters come out the woodwork. Jealousy and racism, sexism, double standards, you perpetuate those things. Instead of celebrating a sister or just ignoring if you don't like her, I'm sick of you losers. I know that she's going to be pissed at me for doing this, but I am fed up. This girl minds her own business. She helps people whenever she can. She lifts up and promotes black women and underdogs at all times. Damn.
Yeah, it's always people outside of the culture that are trying to push these type of narratives when they see successful a person of color doing big things and energizing a whole group of people, and people just don't like it, man. Like that's how I come, that's how I see it. And Beyonce has done nothing but uplift her community and her culture, and and time again, I don't understand where they're coming out coming after her, where it's the opposite, where she's not for the culture. So I just feel like people online, they just hate their lives and they're full of themselves and they just feel like they can just go online and bash people just for no reason, but they don't even know what the hell they're talking about. It just shows more about them than it shows about what they're talking about. So yeah, I would say Beyonce, I don't even feel like her mom even needed to respond because it's so beneath her, and it doesn't even make sense of what these people are coming at her about online. So yeah, I don't feel like that's a good look for them people to be hating on her like that.
I just learned one thing from all of this. Don't ever get on Beyonce's mom's bad side.
Yeah, definitely not. Or the Beehive, because she has all her fans. Yeah, her fans will come get you if you say anything out of line. about Beyonce. So yeah, you definitely got to tread lightly when you speak of Beyonce.
Yeah, definitely. And that's some clown ass shit to like accuse her of bleaching her skin or like trying to be white. It's like, bro, she's been around for 25 years. When has she ever shown an example of that? She's not Candace Owens.
And she's light skinned. She's light skinned, bro. Like she's never been dark skinned. And it could have been the lighting. I know you had a movie premiere. There's a lot of cameras. There's a lot of lights. So it could have been just the lighting that made her look a little bit lighter than normal. So I don't believe that she would bleach her skin or go against being what she's what she is and being an African American woman. So I've never seen her go against representing her her culture and where she's from. So I don't get where all this talk is coming from.
It's kind of like what we talked about with the DJ Academics thing a few weeks ago. A lot of these people just find it so easy to talk shit about somebody on social media behind a computer because they don't have to face them face to face.
Yeah, exactly. If they were in the person's face, I guarantee they wouldn't become speaking sideways like this.
Hell no, punk ass bitches.
Yeah, so yeah, but shouts out to Beyonce for the documentary. Shouts out for the for her mom and her family, sticking up for her, even though they didn't need to. But yeah, you definitely should check it out. I even saw that Destiny's Child made a cameo in the
Of
documentary.
course, of course.
All the original members except one of them. I don't know what happened. She might have had a big fallout with them, but there's one that's never around. But nonetheless, she got all of Destiny's Child back together. I even saw that Taylor Swift made an appearance. So
At the premiere, I saw it
yeah,
at the
at the
premiere.
premiere. So yeah, so anytime you have Taylor Swift in the building, you know that you're doing big things. So yeah, so shouts out to Beyonce.
Glad to see that they're still friends after that whole VMAs thing that happened with Kanye all those years ago.
Yeah, but it wasn't really necessarily her. It was more Kanye more than anything.
I know. I just remember that she won an award at the end of the night, and then she like let Taylor Swift have her like acceptance speech that she didn't get earlier in the night. So I'm like glad to see like all these years later that they're still cool and that they're still tight.
Yeah, it was dope because yeah, two of the biggest artists, in their respective genres. So yeah, I was glad to see two of those icons together.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing the movie, and it's funny. You know, the first time I ever saw Beyonce and all of Destiny's Child was on that episode of Smart Guy.
Oh, I don't even remember that. I thought she was like when Destiny's Child first came. No, I thought it was like a White Clef song that she came out with, or that was Destiny's Child song.
Yeah, it was around that time they were guest starring on Smart Guy, and they performed that song, and yeah,
Damn,
they
I
were
don't
on the
remember that shit.
episode. And Marcus like took her to the dance.
Oh shit, I gotta go back. I haven't watched that shit that year. I mean, I haven't seen that show in like forever.
So, in the adventures of Diddy that we haven't had enough to talk about on the show the last few weeks, it came out this past Tuesday that Diddy is temporarily stepping down from Revolt, the network that he co-founded back in 2013, stemming from the sexual assault allegations he's been coming up against the last 2 weeks or so. So yeah, like we talked about a few weeks ago, this is only the beginning, and considering that he's stepping down from Revolt, it's not looking too good, is it?
Nah, not at all. I know Diddy. He hasn't been a part like of the day to day operations at Revolt, so it's not really like they're not gonna be really losing too much as far as like how everything is ran at the TV station. But they do lose like that. Diddy did put his name out there and put his face with Revolt, which helped them to be as big as they are now. So he helped with the marketing and it helped put his stamp of approval on Revolt. So it's going to be interesting to see how everything plays out. But I know he had to step down because I'm sure that sponsors and other partnerships are going to start to back out if Diddy's involved with all this heat that's coming his way. So it makes sense for him to step away because he doesn't want to let the revolt sink because of him. So it makes sense for him to back away and kind of go into hibernation while everything gets sorted out. But it was the right thing to do. You don't Revolt has been a network that has been for the culture over the last 10 years. They've had a lot of shows, a lot of documentaries. They used to have the Breakfast Club showing every morning on there. So a lot of good things about that TV station. Hopefully the TV station can continue to move forward despite Diddy not being as involved as before.
Yeah, it's crazy, bro. Like it feels like every week something new comes out about this shit, and it's feeling like we're gonna have to call this show the Diddy Show with the way it's going right now. But it's funny. I actually shared that clip from making the band on my Instagram story a couple days ago of him making everybody like walk to Brooklyn to get the cheesecake for him, and then when they all came back after that walk, he wasn't even there. And bro,
Yeah.
that walk from Harlem to Brooklyn is not. an easy walk by any stretch. You will lose 50 pounds doing that walk, bro. I promise you.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Just everything. If you just go back with all these new allegations and everything that's coming out, if you do the math and go back, Diddy, like everybody around Diddy, like it's toxic. It turned into toxic. Like a lot, how many people passed away, or how many people got sick, or how
Ripped
many
off.
bad, how many bad stories do you hear with people associated with Diddy? So it's just not looking good, and it feels like everything that he touches turns into stone or dust. So if I were you, I would stay far away from Diddy if you can. And yeah, it's like I don't know, man. It's just not looking good for him and his legacy. And look, it feels like he pissed somebody off. He didn't pay a debt or something because everybody is coming out of the woodworks. Even his old artist Mark Curry, I saw, went back online and was saying that some of the allegations that he saw this and he saw that. So I understand that everybody's coming out of the woodworks now, but where were all these people like years ago? Like it was okay that he was doing all this because you were getting checks from him and you were getting money from him. But now all of a sudden somebody else came out and now you're speaking up. So I just don't like that part of it. But if you did something wrong, you definitely should be called out about it. But I don't get how all these people all of a sudden, oh, I saw this, I saw that, are coming out of nowhere when they should have said something years ago.
I guess maybe they feel like it's safer to do so because it's a popular thing now to shit on him and to call him out. Maybe if they feel like it's safer to do so compared to 10 years ago when he wasn't such a target. So I guess maybe that's a part of it. But one other thing I think about as far as like the Diddy toxicness goes is that issue he had with the Locks. Like, remember when the Locks were trying to get out of their contract with Bad Boy and they started that whole like Free the Locks campaign and all that jazz?
Yeah,
And then I think I shared with you that one interview from the radio show from Hot 97 when they got into an argument with each other on the radio about like the whole contract situation, about the money situation. Yeah, it's just gotten
yeah.
ugly between him and so many artists. It's fucking weird, man.
Well, as far as that situation, anytime you have artists and record label, the artist signs a contract, so that's I don't really fault him for that. The artist should have did their research and got other people involved to kind of look over the contract. So I feel like artists need to be more diligent in checking these contracts that they're signing. Yes, I know they come from nothing, but at the same time, if you believe in your craft and you know that you can blow up if you have the opportunity, you got to make sure that you set yourself up so you don't get jerked by the record labels or by these moguls, because they'll definitely eat off you if you blow up. So yeah, more of that issue was between them two as far as the contract. And like I said, they should have done their due diligence in researching the contract. But as far as going back to my other point, like the Mark Curry point, is why can't they be like Aubrey O'Day, who used to be in Danny the Kane? She's been talking about Diddy in a negative light for years and been calling him out for his bullshit. And she's been saying this forever. And all of these other artists, I know you said the point that they don't feel comfortable, but she's been comfortable airing him out since day one, ever since her and Diddy had a falling out. So she's been putting stuff out there and saying this and that about Diddy. So it sounds like what she's been saying all along was true, based on all these allegations and all these stories that are coming out.
Yeah, it's crazy, bro. And even watching the movie Get Him to the Greek, where he basically plays like an exaggerated version of himself. Now, when I watch that movie now, I'm not going to be able to look at it the same. Now I'm going to see like there's probably a lot more truth to it than that.
Yeah. So who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, exactly. Who knows? We never met the guy, but enough of these stories are coming out from credible people where you can't really deny a lot of it.
And at this point, it's like even if it's not true, we're too far gone now. Where I don't think he can recover from this anymore. It's going to be hard for him to recover to get back to where he yeah, the respectability where he was at before all this stuff started coming out. I think it's a wrap.
And even with this aside, admittedly so, he is one of the most important figures in the history of hip hop. You got to put him in that conversation regardless of these allegations.
Yeah, yeah. Regardless, same thing with R. Kelly. Like regardless of the allegations and all the things that came out, they did impact the culture in a real major way. And who knows where we would be without those two figures. Even though it does come with some controversy of behind the scenes.
Yeah, but at the same time, regardless of how much you like their music or how much you're a fan of the artist they put out, that doesn't give them a pass for the bullshit that they did.
Yeah, you got to do the right thing, and if they did this what they did, then they gotta get punished. Simple as that.
Definitely. And speaking of other controversial cases, the Young Thug RICO case started out this week, where Young Thug is actually being put on trial for conspiracy to violate Georgia's Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. And if convicted, he could face up to 120 years in prison.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not looking good, man. And he's being put on trial with five other people. And he's also being put under charges for drugs and gun possession and criminal charges. The main thing the prosecution's trying to convict him of is being the head of a criminal organization called Young Slime Life, where he was basically orchestrating murders and orchestrating different crimes and all that jazz. And the main crime he's being accused of is the murder of a rival gang member back in 2015. Apparently, like the rival gang member who was killed by a drive-by shooting, the car that was used in the drive-by shooting was a car that he rented.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of stuff that the DA's office has put together to fight against him, against Young Thug. So it's gonna be tough for him to get passes because they have a lot of a lot of stuff. But we'll see. He might get off on a technicality or something like along those lines. I know that the DAs, they're trying to use some of his lyrics against him to try to kind of put, like the hit that you're talking about in 2015. They're trying to use some of those lyrics to kind of say that he rapped about it and kind of glorified it on his tracks. So kind of open up a can of worms, or it kind of ties into another story that we had, and when it goes back to using lyrics. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if they are able to use the lyrics. But have you seen where he's trying to, they asked him, like, what does Young Thug mean? And then he gave them an acronym for what it means. Did you see that?
Yes, I did see that. Break it down for me again.
Yeah, he said, Thug stands for truly humbled under God. So
Oh,
that's, did you see that?
yeah, I did see that. His defense is basically trying to say that he's not the head of a criminal organization. Like the Young Slime Life is really Young Stoner Life. It's just basically a record label, and he's just like promoting music, and he's just promoting music from like a life he came from. It's not really real. It's not really stuff he really did. It's just music. It's just entertainment. That's like what the defense is trying to come up with as a counter argument, but. I don't know, like a lot of the things he's being accused of, it's not looking good. They found machine guns in his freaking house. Like when they raided his house, they found machine guns, they found drugs, whole bunch of shit.
Yeah, it doesn't paint him. Yeah, all the stuff that they found and all the allegations. Yeah, it doesn't paint him in the brightest of light. And then also, I remember when him and Young and Weezy got into it like a few years ago, that he shot up Lil Wayne's tour bus. I don't know if you remember that story from a while back, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
think I heard of that. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. Maybe there's links to it. I hope not. I hope it's just a crazy coincidence, and he just got caught up in it. But we'll see how this trial plays out. Looks like it's going to be a long trial, and it could have a big impact on the hip hop culture and how like lyrics and how artists are viewed. Let's see if artists start changing their tone and start putting things that go on in the streets in their lyrics. Because I don't know if you remember with Bobby Shmurda, and when he was going on his trial, they tried to use some of the lyrics that he had in Hot Boy against him, saying that it had to do with a murder, that investigation that they had going on. So it'd be interesting to see how this plays out, and if it sets a precedent for future trials for other artists or musicians, and where they're going to use their lyrics against them.
Hey, look, I'll say this. If they got like actual like audio and like an actual phone call of him like talking about like putting out hits, or talking about that he did hits or that he did different crimes, that's one thing. But shit that he did for entertainment purposes, I don't think that you should use against him to get him convicted of these kind of crimes, because that shit is strictly for entertainment. Whether he's guilty or not, I can't say for sure, but I will say from what I did read about the story, it doesn't paint him in the best light. It does not paint him in the best light.
Yeah, it doesn't. So we'll see. But he definitely lawyered up and got some good ass lawyers, because they're definitely pulling out all the stops to try to get him off. And I even heard that they're pushing P. That you try to say that is pushing positivity instead of pushing pussy or whatever they try to portray. So yeah, man. So we'll see. It's gonna be interesting how everything plays out, and I don't know, man.
Yeah, and a bunch of his other people who were part of the indictment also, a bunch of them are also in prison. Some of them even doing life sentences. Yeah, it kind of goes back to the thing of like watching the company you keep, and maybe a lot of the company he did keep, maybe if he didn't do anything himself, the company he did keep is like reflecting badly on him.
Yeah, so we'll see, man. Like I said, the trial just started. I think they're like 4 or 5 days into the trial, so I know it's going to continue next week. So I'm sure there's going to be a long drawn out trial. There's going to be a lot of evidence they're going to present, and a lot of kind of arguments. So yeah, I expect this to go on for a little while. This trial, and hopefully he is innocent.
Yeah, they're saying it's going to last for the better part of a year.
Oh wow, that long? I thought it was going to be maybe like a month or so. Wow, it's going to go on for a year.
Yeah, it took forever to even get it started, but now that it has started, they're saying it's going to last a while. They even had to stop the trial on Thursday because the faces of the jurors was exposed, or like it got caught on camera.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that. So I think that's going to end up they're either going to have to switch out the jurors, or they may have a mistrial and have to start all over again, which is going to put him in jail for even longer. He's already been in there for almost 2 years already. So by the time he's if this, let's say the trial's going to go on for another year, he's going to be locked up for 3 to 4 years, and then he's going to come back out and try to put out music. By that time, it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be hard for him to be able to to get back to the level where he was at before he got locked up. He was one of the most popular artists in the game.
Yeah, but if he does end up getting acquitted, I think he'll have a big fan base to support him, though.
Oh yeah, he already had a big fan base. He already had like a cult following
But I'm
before.
saying if he ends up getting acquitted, they're going to go even harder for him.
Oh yeah, definitely. Look at Gunna. He was caught up in the trial when it first came about, and then supposedly some people said that he snitched, but he came out, he dropped the album as one of the albums of the, a contender for album of the year. So we'll see what happens and how it plays out. And if he is acquitted, we'll see if it sparks him to create some other music.
Yeah, 120 years, bro. He's not even going to live that long.
Nah, at that point, man, yeah, he's just gonna end up dying in there if that's the case.
Yeah, it's some scary shit to even think about, but hopefully he didn't do it, and we'll see how this goes as the time goes on. But this is starting to feel like the hip hop version of the OJ trial.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Just get that same kind of feeling like it's the trial of the hip hop century. I would say.
Yeah, but one person who's been coming to Young Thug's defense is Fat Joe, who opened up recently talking about the fact that he lied in pretty much 95% of his lyrics, and how he just wrote the lyrics that he wrote for specific songs because that's just how he felt that day. He just did it for entertainment purposes.
Yeah, it sounds like Fat Joe's trying to avoid getting heat thrown at him for some of the lyrics and some of the things that came about during his time. So it sounds like he's just trying to get ahead of the situation because he sees what Young Thug is doing on his trial, and he's just trying to get away from it. But I also at the same time, like I wouldn't be surprised if 95% of the lyrics that come from these artists is fake and is fabricated stories that they made up. Because like I said a few weeks ago, like I look at hip hop sometimes as like a movie, and these artists are more like characters that are portraying like a persona. So,
Lifestyle.
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah, or lifestyle. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these artists are painting these false stories. But I know that some artists they truly do live their life and they speak about their lives. So I know not everybody is like that, but there's some who are authentic and they really tell their life stories. And but I would say, like Fat Joe was alluding to, that a majority of them do not live the life that they talk about.
Damn, I can't listen to Deep Cover 98 the same anymore. Motherfucker.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough for some of these artists now that that statement is out there. Like say for example, like Rick Ross, like his whole persona is based off of him, being a correctional officer, and then he all of a sudden turned into like the kingpin of Miami, bigger than Noriega. So if you start looking at all these different artists, you're gonna start to question like pretty much every single artist. So I don't know what the point of that statement was, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe in a lot of cases, it's the record labels probably pushing them to, talk about that bullshit, talk about the shit that they don't do. It could also be that.
Yeah, and also ties into what D1 was saying a few weeks ago, how he's saying that how all these artists push this negativity to our children, and then they don't even live the lives that they're portraying. But then all these younger kids are eating all this music up, and they're going and act out what they're hearing. Yeah, so it just makes D1, it proves D1's point even more.
Yeah, just as an artist myself, I've never really been about lying in my lyrics. I've always tried to be as honest and as, like, authentic as possible. I don't really try to judge anybody else for lying in their rhymes or lying in their music, but I've personally never been about that shit. And considering this shit going on with Young Thug right now, I'm really happy I'm not.
Yeah, because come back to bite you in the ass for putting something out there that's not even true, and then you get caught up in a situation, and then next thing you know, even if it's not true, the court may use it against you and say that it is true, and then kind of convict you off of what you wrote or what you said in a lyric. So yeah, he's got to tread lightly with that.
Yeah, the hell with that fuckery. I don't want those kind of problems. But another artist who's coming under some problems right now is Rod Wave, as he's been getting accused recently by multiple artists of taking their lyrics without their permission. And the most recent artist who's accused him of this is Boosie, who's coming after him for sampling lyrics to his song Long Journey from 10 years ago. And he's asking for $200,000 plus 25% of the publishing, which Rod Wave is not having if you saw his response about it. So it's looking like this shit is going to be dragging on for a while. And I have to say, from the fact that so many different artists are like accusing him of stealing their lyrics, and Jay-Z being another example from the song Song Cry, there is definitely a lot of weight to this, considering that this dude's been accused of this more than once.
With this Rod Wave situation, yeah, I feel like Boosie is justified because when you taking somebody's lyric, I feel like it is a way of paying homage to them or paying respect to them, but you have to have some type of relationship with them, because otherwise, if you don't, like in Boosie's case, you could come after you for not compensating him or not, going through the proper channels business wise, to use his lyrics in a song. Like we all know that Jay-Z has used Biggie's lines in Mad Records before, but at the end of the day, Jay-Z did have a strong relationship with Biggie before he passed away. So he was able to, that was always like his brother, and they did songs together. So Jay-Z gets a pass for that. But in this case, Rod Wave never had a relationship with Boosie. He just grew up and he liked Boosie's music, and then he decided to use some of his lyrics in his song, which is cool. But I felt like it would make more sense if he reached out to him or his team and try to build with him first and be like, yo, I want to put the song out, but I got a couple lines that come from, one of your songs. Is it cool if I do this? And then Boosie might have been like, yeah, that's cool, and wouldn't ask for anything. But just the way that Rod Wave went about doing it, it looks kind of like you're just trying to use me for clout and trying to use me to gain popularity for yourself, and you're just not going about it in the right manner. I kind of respect what I don't know if you saw Busta Rhymes did an interview on the Breakfast Club the other day where he talked about how he likes to give knowledge to the younger artists, and he likes to build with them, and he doesn't even need anything from them. He just wants them to apply like the knowledge that he's given to them and
Oh,
apply that
yeah, I did see that.
better.
I shared that on my Facebook the other day. Yeah, I did hear that. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so yeah, it just goes back to making sense. Like there's a proper way to do things. Yeah, it's cool that you're paying homage to Boosie, but there's a way and an etiquette and a proper format to do it, not just the way that Rob Wave doing it. Kind of goes back just I know some of just yeah, like, just going back to my point. It's just the right way to do things, and that just wasn't the right way to go about it.
Yeah, and the fact is, he's done this more than once. He's done this with Drake's lyrics. He's also did it with Jay-Z's lyrics for Song Cry, and it was just so blatant. And it's like, bro, you can't come up with your own shit. Like, how many different artists are you gonna take lyrics from?
Yeah, it's like and it's like from songs that are like long ago that his core fan base is like I would say like teenagers or people in the early 20s. That's mostly his fan base. So they may not be familiar with some of those songs, or maybe like the first time that they're hearing it. So they may think like, oh yeah, Rod Wave, this nigga's nice. Like that was a ill ass bar or something like that, but it's not even him. So I don't know, man. It comes off like he was trying to be sneak. It could come off as like the
Sneaky.
artist could come off and see like it could be like he's trying to be sneaky or trying to be grimy, but you have to have some type of relationship with these artists ahead of time, to be using their lyrics like that, especially in rap, where you can't. It's not like other genres where it's okay to like use people's lyrics. In rap, that's your credibility goes out the window if you don't use your own lyrics, and especially without paying homage to the predecessors where you got the lyrics from, or having some type of relationship with them. It's just not a good look, and it just makes them come off as trying to be an opportunist.
I've always been about originality when it comes to lyrics and all that. If you steal somebody's lyrics once or twice, that's one thing. But when you're doing it multiple times and multiple different people are accusing you of that, then yeah, there's a problem. The one thing I just would encourage artists to do is just come up with your own shit. Jay-Z already came up with what he came up with. Drake already came up with what he came up with. Boosie already came up with what he came up with. So just bring your own shit. People want to see you. They don't want to see a clone of somebody else. They want to see you. So be yourself.
Yeah, and a lot of these artists these days they're remaking like songs that came out like in the '90s, which is cool. It's cool to to remake old songs, but I just feel like they're not going about it in the right way. And it would be cool like if you did use some of Boosie's lyrics, maybe have him jump on that song, maybe do the chorus, or maybe have a verse on the song. That would make it stand mean more than just using his lines.
Or have him in the music video or something. Like, for instance, remember that Mario Just a Friend from back in the day? He had Biz Markie all in the music video hanging out with him and kicking it with him. Yeah, just some shit like that. It's so simple.
Exactly. That's the right. And again, it goes back to having a relationship prior. You can't just use somebody's lyrics and not reach out to them more. But like, yo, Boosie, hit them up. Like, it's things are so easy nowadays. You have Instagram. You can hit up the artist directly. You could send them a DM on IG and be like, yo, fuck with your music. I've been a long time fan since I was younger. Would it be cool if I use some of your bars on the song that I got coming out? And if it's cool, come through for the video, or if you want, let's record something together. That's as simple as that, yo. But I don't get it. These artists are entitled. They feel like they can get away with, some shit and they're untouchable, but it's not. It's blowing up in his face.
Yeah, just simple communication goes a long way. He could have avoided all this trouble and all this backlash if he just communicated.
Yeah, and then you could tell he was triggered with his response. Like I could barely understand what the fuck he was saying.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I was
like
saying. You're not. That's what I was saying when I heard his response. I'm like, bro, you're not helping yourself. You are not helping
yo,
yourself.
nigga, speak English, nigga, English, enunciate. Like, what the fuck are you saying? Like every other word is my nigga, bro, like all that. Like I don't understand that talk.
Facts.
Like talk normal. Like
Mother,
you know what I'm saying. So
do need some subtitles.
yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, you definitely need subtitles when you hear some of these younger artists like speak. Like they can't even put together a fucking clear sentence, a concise sentence. Like, yo, man, it's just not a good look, man. Just at the end of the day, definitely should have reached out to Boosie and Jay Z or whoever is man. You could reach out to the management or hit them up directly, but you definitely gotta have some type of relationship with them to be using their art like that.
Yeah, and it's clear that some of his fan base isn't really that much better. As at his concert this past Wednesday, Ari Lennox was the opening act for him, and during her performance, some fans were like throwing shit at her, and she flipped the fuck out. This girl's usually so calm and so chill, but then when that shit happened to her, she went straight hood on that motherfucker. She was not having that shit.
I
Yeah,
don't
that was
blame
like a
her.
side tour I had never seen, and yeah, she had every right to respond that way. I hope she fucking ran into that family and knocked his ass out.
Yeah,
Motherfucker.
people just goes back, man. People are just privileged and entitled and think that they can get away with stuff. They wouldn't do that if it was like in a smaller venue, or like there's been like little lounges where the people perform and whatnot. They definitely wouldn't do it like somewhere like that. But they choose like a big venue where they could throw something at somebody and hide their hand and look the other way and not get caught. But that's just corny, yo. It's mad foul. Like, why is somebody you're gonna go pay money to go see an artist perform and then you're gonna throw something at them and then risk getting kicked out of the concert? What is the point of that? Like, who has money to waste like that to do that? And like, why are you putting that type of energy out there like that? People have phones everywhere, and especially at a concert, everybody has their phone out recording. So somebody's gonna catch you doing that, and somebody's gonna sell it to TMZ or wherever and make a bag out of it. So just fucking stupid, man. I just don't get it, man. Why people go to a concert and throw stuff at people? And look what happened to that one fan. Remember when one fan threw water at Cardi B and then she threw the mic at her?
Ooh, yeah, I think I did see that. Yeah, I did see
Months
that.
ago. Yeah, so you got to be careful, man. You might not. You think these artists, are all cool and chill, but if you catch them at the wrong time, man, they'll put you in your place, man. So you just got to be careful. You don't know who you're messing with.
If you're going to these shows, keep your fucking hands to yourself. And it's not just at concerts. We've been seeing it happen a lot in the NBA the last few years. You saw that Russell Westbrook got into it with a fan like earlier this week.
Yeah, I saw that. So people just, I don't know what's going on with society lately. People just feel like they can get away with whatever and not getting any backlash. They feel like they can just do whatever they want.
Yeah, people's sense of right and wrong is all jacked up. And I say this, any fan who pulls that shit, who throws garbage and tries to like put their hands on these artists in a negative way or these basketball players in a negative way, they deserve to get their ass beat. Their ass beat.
Yeah. So I do not feel anything that happens to them from there, and I do not feel bad.
Hell no, pieces of shit.
Yeah, that's when you see fans jumping out, running on stage. I like beat that motherfucker's ass. You shouldn't have been on stage in the first place. So have you noticed like when people come on stage, they beat the hell out of them. So they learn their lesson. Like streakers, people like that. Like
Yeah, I see that shit happen in wrestling all the time where fans try to jump the guardrail and get in the ring, and yeah, they're licensed to fuck you up if you do that.
yeah. So yeah, if you do that, be ready for the consequences.
Yeah, but let's move on to the next story. So, an interesting Mount Rushmore for mixtape rappers came out on Instagram the other day, and this is who they put on that Mount Rushmore: Future, Jeezy, Lil Wayne, and 50. What do you think of this?
I feel like, well, let's put it in the proper context. This is since 2000, right? Because it's like the modern day mixtape era. Because we're not gonna count like mixtapes from DJs like DJ Clue, K Slay, Envy, those Ron G, those type of mixtapes. So this is more of like artist mixtapes. So let's put the proper context out there. I'm okay with some of the names on the list, but some of the names, I do have a lot of people who I feel like could have been on the list as well, who I feel like had a good run of mixtapes. First 50 Cent definitely has to be on there. The G Unit Radio and the 50 Cent is the Future. Those mixtapes that came out like in the record like in 2001 and came out in like 2002, early 2003. These mixtapes kind of actually created the buzz for 50 and G Unit and kind of got people anticipating that Get Rich or Die Trying album, and that album, as we all know, definitely delivered. So it was definitely a jump off and starting point for G Unit and 50 Cent, and it also set the foundation for artists to start rapping on other people's beats. But because before then, there was not too many times where an artist would put a whole mixtape together where they're rapping on other artists' beats, like the popular songs. They'll do like their own remixes too. So it was pretty dope that G Unit and 50 Cent started that trend. So I have no issue with 50 being on there. Next, I'm gonna have to go with Lil Wayne with his dedication and the drought series that he dropped, like kind of like in the what it was like the early, like before 2010 and like the early 2010s. Like he dropped a bunch of mixtapes which Weezy was going ham. That was like prime Weezy. Well, I feel like he's like in another prime right now, but nonetheless, like back then he was like in his bag and he was going off on pretty much every track that he did, and that's what made people anticipate like the Carter albums. Everybody was waiting because of the run that he was doing and all the damage that he was doing on these mixtapes. And then also we have who else was on the list?
Jeezy.
Jeezy dropped a lot of mixtapes himself as well. He came out with the Trap or Die series, and he overall released like 18 mixtapes over the course of his career. But I would say Jeezy's more of like an album to me. I feel I liked his albums more than the mixtapes. I feel like the albums had a bigger impact. I would swap out instead of instead of Jeezy, I would put Gucci Man there because Gucci dropped a lot of mixtapes and he actually broke a lot of artists during that time, like OJ the Juice Man, Young Scooter, and a lot of other artists
OJ the Juice
that he
Man.
helped put
Almost forgot about that dude.
exactly. So Gucci Man definitely had a nice run. Like before 2010, he had dropped a bunch of mixtapes, and he has a lot of street classics that he had on those mixtapes. So I would probably swap Jeezy for Gucci, and then Future. He's more recent. He did drop a lot of mixtapes. He dropped like the 56 Nights, Monster, which had Fuck Up Some Commas on it. And the 56 Nights had the March Madness, which is probably one of Future's biggest underground tracks. And then he also dropped Beast Mode, which are all underground classics. which were dope. But I probably wouldn't put Future in there. I would probably would put, if I had to replace him, I would probably go with Fab. People forget about
Oh, I
that.
was about to say that too.
People forget about that. There's no competition mixtape series. Also, he dropped the Soul Tape
The
one,
Soul
two,
Tape,
and
oh shit. The Soul Tapes were great. I fucking
yo,
love the
those
Soul Tapes,
albums,
especially
and
the
then
second
even
one.
yeah, exactly. So Fab with the Soul Tape series, and then also more recently he came out with the Summertime Shootout series over the last few years. So Fab is definitely, when it comes to mixtape, that's like Fab's.
That's where he shines. That's where he shines the most.
Yeah, that's where Fab shines on the mixtapes, and especially going into other people's beats. So I would definitely would have to put Fab on there before I get into some other ones that got. I'm sorry, before I get into some other ones that should have been on the list. I'll let you go ahead and give your take on that list that we saw.
Yeah, I would agree with you where I would swap out Future for Fab because Fab's mixtapes I would say are way better than his albums. Because one example I'll give, the Street Dreams album from '03, it was cool, it was solid, but the Street Dreams mixtape that dropped after that was 10 times better.
Oh yeah,
That's what like really made me a fan of Fab was that shit. I liked them
yeah,
before that, but then when I heard that, especially the camp, like whatchamacallit, what was the name of that song? Fuck it, the one with Mike Shorey. I'm talking reckless now. I'm the reason that your girlfriends are your exes now. Yeah, that shit.
yeah. That track was dope. But yeah, man, the whole there was no competition series was dope. They had like Throw It in the Bag, those tracks on there. Then they had like I said, the Soul Tape series. Also, those were all banging albums,
Oh my
banging
god. I
mixtapes.
still have dreams about
I saw
those.
people online asking Fab like when he's gonna drop another Soul Tape, and he was like, "Nah, that's my old shit. I'm working on something different." So, but it's long overdue, man. It's been a couple years since he dropped that Summertime Shootouts. I think two or three. So it's time for him to drop something new, man. But hopefully Fab can feed the streets. Hopefully before the end of the year.
Yeah, and also another person we can include on that list, Wiz Khalifa.
Yeah, Wiz is definitely an honorable mention. I don't think he wouldn't make my list because he did have the Burn After Rolling mixtape, which was pretty dope, and also the classic Cushion Orange Juice, which probably one of the best mixtapes during the blog era. That was definitely up there. But I just feel like after like the early 2010s, kind of Wiz kind of fell off. It wasn't the same. Instead of Wiz, I'll probably put Currency in there because Currency's had a run.
Okay.
He's dropped at least 10 or 20 mixtapes, and he's done a lot of mixtapes with different artists. He did a mixtape with Styles P, Jermaine Dupri. Like list goes on and on. He's done mad mixtapes with his crew. So I would definitely put Currency in there. Also, damn, it's hard to leave this one out, but his run was disgusting. Styles P's running like
Ooh,
the mid
2000s? Yeah,
mid 2000s, like the Ghost in the Shell, the Phantom, all those mixtapes, like those mixtapes were hard as hell. So pause. So I would
Kiss the
definitely,
Ghost also.
yeah, go Kiss the Ghost. That was another ill one. Also, another honorable mention is Nipsey Hussle. Nipsey Hussle had a bunch of mixtapes,
Oh shit.
Crenshaw, and a bunch of other ones that dropped that a lot of people didn't really I would say pay attention to until after he passed away. But he definitely had some dope mixtapes, dope mixtapes over the course. And then also one last one is Jada Kiss. He didn't drop a lot of mixtapes, but that Champ is Here. I actually listened to it the other day. That one still slaps. And Jada is just being Jada, and that's another artist that I feel like shines the best on mixtapes as well. So those are some of my honorable mentions.
Yeah, definitely. Like rappers like Jadakiss, and Cassidy also you can throw in there too. That's exactly like where you can really see their full potential, like really see them shine and like be more in their element. And as far as Wiz Khalifa goes, I remember like hearing him around that time, like right before like he really blew up. I remember jamming a Black and Yellow like it was just a regular track and like saying, "Yo, this shit is dope." And then like 3, 4 months later, it's like one of the biggest songs in the country. I think he performed that shit like at the halftime game of like the AFC Championship game with the Steelers. Like at that point, I was like, "Yo, this dude blew the fuck up out of nowhere! Holy shit!"
Yeah, that Cushion Orange Juice mixtape set took him to another level. Like he was bubbling, in the blogs and underground, but then that Cushion Orange Juice came out and that took him to a superstar level. So
Yeah, and he's been a superstar ever
the,
since.
the mixtapes, yeah, the mixtapes are definitely a launching pad for we're a launching pad for artists to get their name out there and to get the buzz going, for their full album release. So definitely something that impacted the culture, even before artists started making mixtapes, the DJs were heavy pushing, mixtapes, and it's definitely embedded in the fabric of our culture.
Yeah, without mixtapes, we wouldn't have a lot of these rappers that we enjoy today, and they probably wouldn't have made it to the level that they have made it to. That's something that should never go away, and that's something that should never go unappreciated.
Yeah, so there's a lot of dope artists that could have made that Mount Rushmore, but it's all subjective. It's up to everybody has their own different taste and their own different style. But I feel like those are the ones that I would feel made the most impact over the last 20 25 years in terms of mixtapes.
Yeah, definitely. But let's get into some anniversaries real fast. As this past week marked the 29-year anniversary of the release of Mary J. Blige's My Life album. And I have to say, in a year of so many classic albums, that year being 1994, this one definitely stood out. And in my opinion, probably Mary J. Blige's best album, period, and one of the best albums I've ever heard by any female artist, hip hop, R&B, any genre. This album is a fucking masterpiece from start to finish. Amazing, incredible songs such as Be Happy, You Bring Me Joy, My Life, I Love You.
Yeah. Oh, that remix, man. That's one of the best hip hop R&B remixes ever. That Smith and Wesson and Mary J. Blige, I Love You
Oh yeah,
remix.
definitely.
Yeah, that shit still.
And all night long, bro. That's like one of the best songs to smoke to.
That whole Mary J. Blige album, My Life, that was classic. Mary, I think that's when she was dating Casey from
They just broken
Jodeci
up.
at that time. Yeah, you could tell that album was definitely inspired by their relationship, and there was a lot going on, and you could hear the pain in all the songs, and that set it off for her to become the artist who she is now, and it's great to see that she's still around, she's still putting out albums, and she's still relevant to this day. So, shouts out to the Queen Mary.
Yeah, and also another classic from that album, I'm Going Down. How the fuck can we forget?
Oh shit, forgot about that. That was a big track.
As great of an album as it is, it's unfortunate that she was like going through the personal problem she was going through at the time. Because she even opened up in her Behind the Music documentary that came out back in '01 that she was ready to kill herself like around that time that album came out. Some scary
Yeah,
shit to think about.
and the album was more like therapy for her, and helped her kind of like navigate her life. And I know she didn't really like get through everything until like the last few years where she kind of like really healed. But yeah, you could hear the pain like on that album, and it kind of catapulted to her to superstardom.
Like, yeah, sadly, for better or worse, some of the best art, some of the best music comes from tragedy and comes from pain.
Yeah,
And that's exactly what we got from the My Life album.
yeah. A lot of people, a lot of these artists, they're so hungry, or they've been through a lot, and their album is more of like their like their therapy, and it resonated with a lot of people.
Yeah, Casey probably became the most hated man in America after that album came out.
Yeah, Casey was on top of the world. Jodeci was probably the biggest boy band group at that time.
Nah, but I'm saying after hearing that album, people probably turned on him.
Yeah, once they started hearing, what was going on, yeah, it wasn't a good look. But they were both young. They were both young and successful, and they both had demons that they needed to go through.
Actually, I know it's not on the album, but one really good track is the track they had together on her first album on What's the 411? If
Oh yeah,
loving you is all that I ever do,
oh yeah, that's the one that they
I don't
did.
want to do
The
anything.
unplugged, right? They did like an unplugged.
Yeah, I think they did, but it's on the 411 album.
Oh yeah.
Great
So for
track.
some reason,
Great track.
yeah, that's another good album. Also, what's the 411? Is another good one too.
Yeah, it's good, but I have to be honest, it's not fucking with my life.
Yeah, my life is the Illmatic for her, but I would say What's the 411 was another dope classic too in its own right.
But unfortunately, with Mary J. Blige, we're never going to get a versus battle from her because she's refused it multiple times, saying that all she would have to do is play the 411 album and it'd be a wrap.
Yeah, she's not lying. I don't know who's gonna be on her level R&B wise, who has as many hits and has done it for as long as she's done it.
Yeah, who can compete with her? Yeah, I can't think of anybody either. But the one thing I would say to that is just prove it. Yeah, just prove it, and then no one can ever say shit again.
What is she gonna gain from that though? She's already who she is. She's already solidified herself. Like, yeah, it's gonna help the other artists more than it's gonna help her. That's kind of like how she feels.
I hear you, but it would be fun. At least for her, that's the way I would probably look at it if I were her. It would just be fun. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, it'd be fun. It's something to do. It'll be a dope time. But we'll see. What's up with verses, man? Verses need to come back.
Yeah, I've been dying for a versus for the long. The last verses I think I remember watching was the Dipset and D Block one, and D Block fucking
Yeah,
had
that
their
was a
way with
classic
them.
one. Well, I think they had a couple out after, but they didn't. I don't know. And then they got caught up with some business shit that was going on, business deal gone wrong. So I heard that they were trying to revamp it and put it back out, but we'll see. People, I don't know, kind of losing interest with it.
Yeah, I mean it started during COVID because nobody else had anything to do, so it was kind of like a product of its time in a sense.
But yeah, like it did peak at that Locks and Dipset. I felt like if they could kept that same energy and kind of kept doing it, there was some that were dope, like the Red and Meth one,
Also, 112 and Jagged Edge.
that 112 Jacket. There was some good ones. The Bounty Killer Beanie Man one was dope. So there was some good ones that they had.
Yeah, it's just a good vibe. I fucks with verses. Also, on a bittersweet one, the DMX and Snoop Dogg one. That was pretty much the last time we really saw DMX is DMX.
Yeah, that was a good one too. There was a lot of good verses that battles that had happened though during that time.
Let's get into another anniversary. The very next day after the My Life album came out, on November 30th, 1994, we had the Quad Studio shooting involving Tupac Shakur as he was going to the studio for a session and he was going to be paid $7,000 for, which is money he kind of needed to fight his criminal charges. But as he walked into the lobby of the studio, he was attacked by three different people, shot 5 times, and also robbed several $1,000s of jewelry. And this whole incident would pretty much be the catalyst to the whole East Coast West Coast beef that would go on for the next 2 years. And I shudder to think what hip hop would have been like and if Biggie and Tupac would maybe still be alive had that shooting that night not happened.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, that was one of the monumental moments in hip hop history, especially in the '90s, where kind of shifted the culture and shifted the culture in a different direction. Pac and Big were good friends, and there's plenty of pictures of them being together. And for some reason, Pac thinks that Bad Boy and Puffy and Big set him up, and yeah, Pac said it like in a bunch of interviews that he, no matter what, he feels like they had something to do with it, and he took that to his grave, and it kind of sparked, like you said, the East Coast versus West Coast beef, and I don't know, man. Just another story that paints Puffy in a negative light. Like there's a lot of stories that came out over the years where you kind of like took Diddy's side, but now with all this shit coming out, like who knows what really happened? And especially, I even saw the interview the other day while reviewing this story, and yeah, you could see like Tupac was like adamant about like, yo, Bad Boy has something to do with this. This was, fuck all of them. This is like they had definitely had something to do with this. Adding more fuel to the fire, Biggie put out "Who Shot Ya," which didn't help the situation. On top of that, it definitely sounded like an indirect diss towards Tupac, and as you know, Tupac didn't take lightly of that and came out with "Hit 'Em Up" from there.
Apparently Who Shot You was recorded like months before the shooting even happened, but then it got released
Yeah,
afterwards,
I heard that
so
too.
everybody assumed that it was about the whole shooting situation.
Yeah, that wasn't a good decision. That wasn't smart at
Yeah,
all.
probably
They
not.
should have
I
rebuffed
remember
that.
Mobb Deep put out their diss to Tupac, and then like around the time Pac died, they took it off the airwaves because they were like, "Yo, this is inappropriate. This shit's not cool."
When Mob Deep says something is inappropriate, then damn, because Mob Deep has said the most outlandish lyrics. Like what did Prodigy
Yeah.
say? I'll shoot you in front of your kid. I'll shoot you in front of my kid. Some blood will get on my daughter. There's nothing she'll live. Something like that. Like shit
What?
like that. You don't remember that Got It Twisted when he said that? A little blood get on my daughter. There's nothing she'll live. Like Prodigy was insane, yo.
Yeah, Prodigy and Havoc, those dudes were not studio gangsters. Especially after listening to Prodigy's book, those dudes were legit. Those dudes were not
Yeah,
lying and making shit up in their lyrics by any stretch.
yeah. 95% of those lyrics were real, not made up. So you know
Yeah,
the
but
difference.
Yeah, but getting back into the Quad Studio shooting, I remember how they portrayed it in the Biggie movie. There was like a scene where like Biggie and Tupac see each other at a party, and then Tupac's hanging out with these two dudes, and Biggie's like, "Yo, you need to watch out for those dudes. Those dudes are kind of sketchy." And Pac is like, "Nah, don't worry about it. They're cool. They're cool." And then lo and behold, when the shootings happened, the dudes who were attacking him were those same dudes.
Yeah, that was the movie fantasizing it, but
I don't know how true that is. I don't know how accurate that is, but it could be possible.
from what I recall, there was like a studio session going on, and then Lil C's saw Pac and
Saw
his
Tupac
crew.
downstairs.
Yeah, and it was like shouting them out like, "Yo, what's up? What's up? What's up?" And then right when that happened, that's when the dude approached him and robbed and shot him. So that's why he kind of has a feeling like they had something to do with it. So who knows, man? Only yeah, we weren't there, and this was like what 30 years ago almost. So who knows what really happened? But it definitely started the big beef between them two, and yeah, they were never the same, and it led up to their both the demise of both of them.
Yeah, it's so crazy. And Tupac, like right after he had surgery for the shooting, he checked himself out of the hospital, and the very next day, he got convicted of the sexual assault charge.
Mm-hmm.
What a crazy ass week, man.
Yeah, it was a crazy time in hip hop. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah, so who knows? Maybe possibly Diddy. I'm not saying he did have something to do with it, but maybe that did happen, and maybe Biggie got caught in the crossfires of it. But fuck,
Just a
man.
lot of shady stories, a lot of suspect stories, and Diddy's in the middle of all of them. And the stories can go either way. They can go either way. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also that footage of both of them walking outside of the studio after everything went down. And I think there's also that picture of Tupac like on the stretcher and like putting up the middle finger. Yeah, just a whole ugly situation, man. And
Yeah,
yeah, I just shudder to think how different everything could have been if that shit had just never happened.
yeah, man. Who knows, man?
Maybe they would still be here now.
Yeah, still dropping albums. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they would have, yeah, how they would have evolved over time.
Yeah, definitely. But let's get into our next story. This past week marked the 19-year anniversary of the release of T.I.'s third album, Urban Legend. Although trap music was great and trap music did make a lot of buzz, I feel like Urban Legend was like the start of the commercial T.I. that would go on to even bigger heights than the one that we would know today. Like being in movies, being all successful, and being where he's at now. I feel like Urban Legend was kind of the start of that.
Yeah, Urban Legend was definitely the album that kind of took Ti to that next level, that next tier. He had a lot of dope songs on there. ASAP was one of my favorites. That kind of like one of his lead singles. He also had that club banger "Get Loose," which was dope. They used to play that at all the clubs. Those are my Tallahassee days. So yeah, so yo, Ti, man, he's a legend, and that album definitely took him to to the level where he's at now. Kind of like set the foundation.
I kind of feel like what Hard Knock Life was for Jay Z, that's what Urban Legend was for Ti.
I kind of can see that comparison.
Yeah, but I love this album. I gotta say, in all honesty, as much as I love trap music and also King, I have to say maybe this is my favorite album of his period. Praying for Help, The King, that Freak Though, that song with Pharrell, I fucking love that track. And I'm the Greatest, the song with fucking Manny Fresh, and Bring 'em Out, son, Bring 'em Out. This album came out during my senior year of high school, and that was one of the hottest fucking songs that whole year, bro.
Yeah, Bring 'Em
That shit
Out
slapped.
was a very big song. I kind of got sick of it though. I'm not gonna lie, because I don't know. Sometimes I feel like songs when they get so big, they play them so much. Like I just don't want to hear it anymore. So I
Bees
kind of
like
felt like
that.
that was it was like one of those tracks. But nonetheless, when it first came out though, it was one of the best tracks, one of the biggest tracks, and people were playing that song for a minute after it released.
Yeah, I remember during my winter break around that time, I was listening to the radio out while I was at work, and they played that song nonstop. Like that song, "Let Me Love You" from Mario and Destiny's Child's "Soldier." I got sick of those songs real fast.
And then he also had some other singles on there. You Don't Know Me,
Motivation.
Motivation was another big track. So and I also liked that song with Lil Kim. I like that song, and then also the one with Trick Daddy and Lil Wayne. I was feeling that track as well. And even the outro, My Life, that was another banger too. With Daz from the Dog Pound.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And also, "You Don't Know Me" was another fire track for me. That was probably the second. That was the second biggest hit from the album.
Yeah, it's definitely a dope album. Definitely go back and listen to it again if you haven't heard it in a while. I'm actually gonna do that maybe today actually.
Yeah, me too. This is the album like where I really started to notice Ti a lot more. I noticed him before on trap music, but this is where I like started to really say to myself, "Yo, this dude's a fucking beast. This dude is not to be fucked with."
Yeah, solidified him as a real artist in the game. Wasn't just like a one hit wonder. Like it solidified him. Like okay, let's take him seriously. Like he's here.
Yeah, he was on another level during that time, and it would only get even bigger for him with the next album, King. It's so funny. I remember around that time he was on the cover of Vibe magazine, and they called him the Jay-Z of the South. And looking back at it now, I think there's definitely a lot of weight to that.
Yeah, that makes sense. How the how his career projected from there.
Did you see that video of him bitching out the club promoters for like putting his face and also his son's face for like promoting some party?
Yeah, I saw that. That's I don't know why people do that. That way. But he's shouts out to Ti though for actually going to the actual venue and calling their bluff. So that was dope.
Yeah, I can tell Ti is somebody you would not want to get on the bad side of.
Yeah, it sounded like he went over there to teach him a lesson. So and
Yeah,
educate him
definitely.
and give him a lecture.
And he's also another dude I definitely can see is not a studio gangster. I could definitely tell he's legit.
Yeah, yeah, he's been through a lot. So shouts out to the king.
Yeah, great album, incredible album. And I gotta say, probably the best album from that year, 2004, besides College Dropout.
Yeah, definitely up there.
King Kong, before we get out of here, let's break down some of our new releases coming out.
Yeah, we got some new releases that came out this past weekend. The first one is AZ. He just came out with a new album produced by Buck Wild. It's called Truth Be Told. Has a lot of joints on there, and actually proves that AZ still has it, and he's still as as sharp as ever. His lyrics are always there. So it's just a dope album if you like lyrics and if you're a fan of AZ. There's not really many features on there. I know Fat Joe is on one of the tracks, but for the most part, it's mainly AZ on every track. Yeah, there's a track on there called one of the greatest, which stood out to me. He kind of talks about how he's solidified himself as one of the greatest in the game, and he talks about how he kind of came up with Nas and how he kind of talks about how he came up when he first came out with Nas on Illmatic, and he kind of goes into some of the other behind the scenes things that were going on and what he was thinking when he was coming up during his career. So it's definitely a dope introspective track. And yeah, if you like I said, if you're a fan of AZ, you definitely check out this album. It's a pretty dope listen. It's kind of short though; it's only like 30 minutes long, even though it has 11 tracks. But it is worth the listen. And if you like bars and ill lyrics, then it's a dope album to check out. Another one that dropped this weekend was Conway the Machine, who was on Griselda, and he dropped a collaboration album with producer Conductor, which Conductor recently worked on the Drake album. So it was dope that them two got together. So I will go ahead and check that album out. It's on all of the streaming platforms, and then also Beyonce dropped her new single "My House" this weekend. So all you Beehive fans out there, you should go check that out if you haven't already. But that's it for this week. And yeah, we'll keep you guys updated on any new releases that come out in the near future.
Yeah, I heard that Beyonce song they play at the end of the movie, at the end of Renaissance in the closing credits. So I'll look out for that when I go see the movie. And also that AZ project I will definitely be looking out for. I've always been a fan of AZ.
Yeah, he's still sharp as ever. She still has it. So looks like Nas inspired some of his counterparts to keep putting out music because I've seen Busta Rhymes, I've seen AZ, I've seen a lot of other artists that are up there in age still drop projects recently. So that's dope to see that they're still alive and kicking.
Very dope to see because I always talk about on this podcast how nobody ever really retires in hip hop. And I'm glad to see that because a lot of these artists still have a lot to offer, even in their later stages in their life and career. So if they can still give us some dope music, I'm all for it.
Yeah, definitely check it out.
King Khan, before we get out of here, tell people how they can follow us on social media and also how they can listen to other episodes of the podcast.
Yeah, if you want to check out the Shifting the Culture podcast on social media, we're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Shifting the Culture podcast. Check out want to listen to other episodes of the Shifting the Culture podcast. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all SoundCloud, and any of the major outlets where you can find your podcast. Just search for Shifting the Culture podcast. And then we also have a new website that just launched this weekend. So you can visit us at Shifting the Culture Podcast and learn more about myself and also Conscious Kurt. And also can catch up on all the latest episodes from the Shifting the Culture podcast.
Yeah, so check us out, holler at us, let us know what you think. Let us know about other topics we can maybe talk about on future episodes. But until next time, for King Khan, this is Conscious Kurt for another edition of the Shifting the Culture podcast. Take care, have a good rest of your weekend, and remember, whether you're an old school head or a new school head, always respect the motherfucking culture.
Peace.
Have a good one.